Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Matt's World. And today, as you can see, I've had a bit of an upgrade with my setup. I've got a new camera and I've got a mic. Look at this bad boy. So, the quality has stepped up on this channel. I have splashed the cash and I'm giving it all to provide good content for you. So, I've got a mic. So, I thought to test all this new stuff out with my laptop recently coming back from the repair shop. I'm going to be reacting to my championship predictions from the start of the season. I had some good predictions in here, but I also had some absolute stinkers. So this is going to be funny to look back on. And I thought, yeah, the season's ended. It ended 3 days ago on Saturday. So I'm not late reacting to this at all. So anyway, enough of me waffling. Let's just get to it.
So let's start with the elephant in the room, Oxford United.
Where did I predict Oxford United now? I know I predicted them to stay up.
They deserve
I got
to come
that
up,
right, but where did I
and they're going
predict
to
them?
survive by the skin of their teeth.
Surviving by the
I just love
skin
the
of
signings
their
they've
teeth.
made.
Well, they
Their
did.
midfield, they've recruited.
They did more than survive by the skin of their teeth, didn't they? They survived comfortably. Like relegation was off the cards before the final day. Survival was confirmed way before the final day. So fair play to Oxford. I was correct in saying that their transfer window was a very good one. I weren't expecting the manager to get sacked, but Gary Monk has come in and done an absolutely brilliant job with them. So fair play to Oxford United. We'll be playing you with your ground with 3 stands next season.
Brentford seemed just against ground.
Just fast forward it a bit.
County, and I think they are going to be the Rams are going to be relegated ramshackle.
Right. Okay. This prediction was made obviously 9 months ago when Paul Warne was still in charge, and we all know Paul Warne. He's been in the Championship before with Rotherham and now Derby, and every single time he just hasn't made it work. He can't get the team ticking and enough to stay up. So this prediction, if they'd have kept Paul Warne for the whole season, this would have been correct, or at least maybe not accurately, but I would have got it in bottom 3. But it doesn't really matter because they got in the holy grail of managers, John Eustace, and they stayed up on the final day. So fair play to Derby County. I was incorrect with that prediction.
I think the business day
so my next prediction was
Championship. I'd rather Southampton go up than Championship. Portsmouth are going to be the top. They're going to be the bottom of the definition of Championship.
Right. So yeah, I was kind of right with this. Portsmouth finished 16th, didn't they? Sure, they finished 16th. Around there. So yeah, I was right with Portsmouth.
They are going to be comfortable. I rate the manager. I rate the squad.
Yeah,
they were comfortable,
weren't they? They were comfortable. They were the best out of the 3 promoted sides. They were very comfortable. Burnley playoffs. That's my next prediction. It is Burnley in the playoffs. What was I thinking here with this one? What was I... Like, Burnley are essentially the current Norwich, the current Fulham, just the yo-yo team that bounces up and down all the time. That's what Burnley are now. So how I didn't get this correct, I have absolutely not got a Scooby-Doo. I mean, we'll see as we go along, won't we? So, this stinks. This prediction absolutely stinks. Who predicted Luton to go up? For context, for all the American viewers that watch me, that don't watch relegation. This prediction was absolutely terrible. This was terrible. Excuse me. I'm on the come down from a sore throat, but Oh, that prediction absolutely honks. That is reeking. That is terrible. I think that's the worst one of the whole video. But it's not the worst to come. Well, it's definitely the worst, but anyway, who's next? What did I call next? Sheffield United just missing out by last season, obviously, but last season I did predictions like with my friends, and I predicted Leeds to just miss out on playoffs, but they just missed out on top two. And I've predicted Sheffield. I knew they were going to miss out on something, but what they were going to miss out on was what I was incorrect prediction. It's not the end of the world. Some people were predicting them to finish bottom half. I didn't have them anywhere near the bottom half. In mediocre mid-tablers, yeah. Everybody's like, this is the year Stoke are going to get playoffs. This is the year Stoke are bottom of mid-table for a very long time, and then they're going to go down in a shock relegation one day, and then they're going to come up from league, come up into championship with momentum. Like Birmingham, they were stagnant in championship for over a decade, and the relegation to League One has given Birmingham a kick up the arse to play and to. What are you talking about? Is Stoke. In my opinion. They're not. They're just. It's sad. No club wants to get relegated, but to be honest, Stoke, if you wanna get your club moving forward, you need to be in some kind of danger or even get relegated to give your team a kick up the arse to actually do something, because that's what's happened with Birmingham, and we've seen it where they get relegated and then they have a really good season in League One. Anyway, being a Sheffield Wednesday fan and suffering relegation recently because of a points deduction, having an absolutely bonkers owner. Relegation sometimes does give your team that kick up the arse to survive. I knew Watford weren't going to have a good season. This was not what I meant by Watford not having a good season. I was not expecting them to finish like 14th. I was expecting them to finish lower. I was expecting to be in the pits of hell in the relegation scrap, but they weren't. So fair play to Watford. As of recording this video, they have actually sacked their manager today. It's weird. They've had like 20 odd managers across 13 years or something stupid like that with the current ownership. And they've given Tom Cleverley the whole season, and then when he's finished mid-table, they've sacked him after the season's ended. It's like, what? Why would you sack him now? It's a bit strange. It's just really strange. I get he's not had a good season, but to sack him after the season rather than doing the usual Watford thing of sacking him 2 months after they've got job. Maybe they just didn't want to pay out another manager's contract. I don't know. It's just really strange with Watford. Well, they did come to Wednesday and they did spank us 6-2 at home, so. But then we drew to them on final day, so we'll call it even there. We both had nothing to play for on final day. But yeah, they were looking really good at the start of the season. They looked like they could have got playoffs, but then they just fell away. Like, if they had started the season how they ended it, then this prediction would have been right, not just for me, but for a lot of people. QPR in the definition of championship. Yeah, they're the definition of championship, aren't they? They came 15th. they're going to be on a steady rise. They're not just going to rise up immediately with Cifuentes. It's going to take time with QPR. And I also had Bristol City and Preston here. And in years gone by, this has always been correct. But obviously, recently, it's not correct anymore. Sorry, I keep spitting everywhere. What a disgusting moron I am. Basically, Bristol City are in the playoffs and Preston just survived relegation on the final day. So they've both actually done something this year. They've not just languished in the middle of the table. Like, Preston had something to play for on final day, which was surviving relegation, and Bristol City had something to play for on final day, which was securing their playoff spot. And now Bristol City are going to be playing in playoffs against Sheffield United. So congratulations to Bristol City, getting playoffs for the first time since 2008. So well done to them. But yeah, I'm happy that both of these teams have had something to play for. That both of these sets of fan bases have had something to look to root for going into the final day. Because for so many years it's just been the battle for 10th between Preston and Bristol. So it's a good thing that wasn't the case this time. So what did I predict next? Next, I predicted Blackburn to go down. This wasn't really a bad prediction. Hold on, just making sure my mic's working. It went red then. I was kind of expecting what would happen was that John Eustace would start the season well. Pretty much, I was predicting Blackburn to do a Birmingham, where they would do really well with Eustace, and he'd either fall out with board and get sacked, or he'd leave, which inevitably he did. But I was predicting him to leave like a lot earlier, and then for him to just tank like Birmingham did. But then again, Blackburn had Wayne Rooney over there. They've actually had a really good season, Blackburn. Just missed out on playoffs on the final day. So yeah, they just needed Bristol City to not win, and they didn't win, but Blackburn didn't win either, so they missed out on final day, unfortunately. But they've had a good season. They had John Eustace at start. Maybe I've just massively underrated John Eustace here, thinking he was going to do worse than he actually did. But yeah, very good season. And like as well, the form that Blackburn were on were torrid. Like, I went to Blackburn away last season, and we absolutely spanked them, and they dropped ball in their own net. Keeper dropped ball in his own net. You know what I mean? So like, it was not looking good for Blackburn at the start of the year. So they've had a good season this year. So fair play, Blackburn. You're very inconsistent with where you finish, but it makes it exciting for your fans at least. Eventually you'll beat Burnley in the derby one day. So yeah, that's not a bad prediction from me. And I had Leeds winning the league. Of course I did. Leeds were going to win the league. They had the best championship squad on paper in the division, and it was just going to happen. In the end, they won it on goal difference on the final day because Burnley were just pretty much up their arse for most of the season. And in the end, Leeds did it. They scraped the title on the final day. But yeah, even if they'd have come second, yeah, it's not a title, but the fans would have definitely taken promotion to the Premier League over a third year consecutively Championship, especially with what happened with Leeds throughout the 2000s and the 2010s. I think Leeds fans will rejoice, especially as well because during the first promotion, it was during COVID season, so the fans couldn't even celebrate with at all with each other or the players or anything. So the fact that they've won the league this time and the fans can actually celebrate is good. As much as obviously I'm a Wednesday fan and Leeds are our rivals, it's nice to see the fans celebrate and have something good happening with their club. That's, you know what I mean? Rivalries aside, congratulations to Leeds. So my next prediction was Middlesbrough in the playoffs. Oh, I mean, I weren't far off. Middlesbrough finished 10th, didn't they? I watched them play Wednesday, obviously, in one of the last home games, and what's happening with Middlesbrough, man? They're just terrible. They had that bonkers 3-3 draw against us in December, and that seemed to be the start of their gradual descent from a playoff pusher to like mid-table. I wouldn't even say they missed out by a fingernail. They just didn't get in. They weren't even close. Like, they could have gone in on final day if they beat Coventry, but they weren't going to beat Coventry with form Middlesbrough on. They were on an absolutely terrible run of form. So in the end, that was it. Middlesbrough have not got playoffs, and I won't be surprised if in the next few days or weeks if Michael Carrick gets sacked. But I feel like that probably won't happen. I feel like what will happen is, I could be wrong, is that Middlesbrough will give him like one more season. And then if he starts poorly and he's not in the playoffs after 10 games, they'll sack him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Middlesbrough. It's just a shame. They have actually got a good team on paper. They're just underperforming massively. So I had Sunderland mid-table. This isn't a bad prediction, considering what happened with Sunderland the year before. And you've got to remember as well, they got Le Bris in, manager who's never managed in Championship before. That normally doesn't turn out well, but sometimes it does. And this time it did. They had a good squad, a good young team on paper, and in the end, they got in the playoffs. But if Sunderland were playing at the start of the season like they are now, where they're just losing nearly all the time and drawing a couple, this probably would have been correct. But they had a fabulous start to the season, and as soon as it was mathematically confirmed that they'd be in the playoffs no matter what, Le Bris and Sunderland were just like, you know what, let's just put our feet up, lose every game, we're in playoffs regardless, let's just prepare for playoffs, let's play some knockout football. So we'll see what happens with Sunderland in playoffs, but they're going into it without any momentum whatsoever. So we'll see what happens with Sunderland in the playoffs. So I've had Swansea in mid-table, in mediocre mid-table. They were mediocre mid-table mediocrity for most of the season, but then after Wednesday beat them, they shortly after that sacked their manager. And this is the thing. For some reason, clubs, whenever Wednesday beat them, they sack their manager. Maybe they just see our Wednesday team being a top-end League One side at best and thinking we're overachieving and think, oh, we've lost to Wednesday, that's disgraceful. But yeah, Swansea were another victim of the Wednesday sack effect, where after they play a Wednesday, they sack their manager. And then, since then, they went on a run of 5 wins in a row, and they went mental, didn't they? And they've ended the season well. They've finished 11th above Wednesday. So, fair play to Swansea for having a good end to the season in the end, unlike their Welsh rivals, which I predicted to finish above Swansea. What the hell was I thinking? Like, Cardiff only survived relegation a few years ago because of Reading's point deduction, and they finished 12th comfortably last season. That would seem to be the anomaly in the trajectory of where the club was going. But I just saw that and thought, surely, Cardiff will kick on. You know what I mean? They had a decent manager, but then he had a bad start to the season and they sacked him. Took them about 2 months to decide whether they were going to give the interim manager the job or not. After 2 months, they thought, screw it, we'll give him the job. And he were doing all right. They got 2 draws against Wednesday. They were picking up results. And then later in season, manager comes out and criticises fans, and that's never a good thing. Starts criticising players, pretty much earns himself the sack, and then they go down before a ball's even been kicked on the final day at all. Like a week before, they're relegated. Bottom. They finished bottom of the league. They've had an absolutely terrible season, Cardiff. And now they're going to be in League One, playing 3rd Division English football for the first time since 2003. So the first time in 22 years that they'll be in the 3rd Division, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Oh no, I had him in mid-table mediocrity. Oh, I didn't have him in definition. Right, so I did have Cardiff, but I still had him above Swansea, so yeah, that's still a bad prediction, really. I had West Brom in the playoffs, but cut me some slack. They still had Carlos Corberán at the start of the season. And on paper, they have a quality Championship side. On paper, they should have got in playoffs, but then they sacked. Well, no, they didn't sack him. Let me eat my own words. I was about to say wrong phrase. He left to go to Valencia, didn't he? So, but they were even then. They weren't like when they still had him. They weren't winning games. They were drawing. It's like they had a really good start to the season. They were top at league. Then they went away to Wednesday and lost 3-2. And then since then they were like drawing a lot. They weren't losing a lot and they weren't winning a lot. They would just draw after draw after draw. And then manager left. Tony Mowbray came in and they just plummeted. And he ended up getting sacked. So, season to forget for West Brom. But they're just going to have to kick on and move on to next year, aren't they? Hold on, just let me pause the recording briefly. Sorry about that, guys. My brother walked into the house, so I had to briefly pause the recording. But we're back, and we're going to move on to the next prediction, which was Wednesday. So I originally put us in the definition of championship, but I think I moved us up. But yeah, we finished mid-table. I was expecting us to have a better season than last. We still had momentum. We still had Danny Roll. We still had the majority of the team that was here last season. But a few things have let us down this season. One thing that has massively let Wednesday down was our home form. Our home form was disgraceful. It was absolutely disgraceful. I don't know how else to explain it. 6 wins at home all year. I can count on one hand who we won against at home this season. We won against Plymouth, Middlesbrough, Derby, West Brom, Norwich, and Stoke. They were our 6 home wins all season. Where's this gone? Right, okay, we're back. I must keep sliding my fingers over a hidden button or something. So yeah, as I was saying, the highest we were in the table this season was 7th during the West Brom away game, but we went back down to 8th, and that's the highest we've been after a final whistle was 8th. So I did predict us to have an overachieving season, and if we'd have had better home form, and if we didn't have all the absolute chaos with our owner off the pitch, if we'd have been backed in January, you know what I mean? We had a good summer window. I thought we had a very good summer window, and the recruitment was great. Apart from Ugbo, but that's not the point. The point is, we get to January, and we're conceding goals for fun. We beat Derby 4-2. But we're still conceding 2 goals. We're conceding for fun. We draw 3-3 with Middlesbrough, get a load of 2-2 draws. We needed depth in centre-backs. We needed defenders to come in. We needed at least one striker to put goals in net. We didn't get anything. We got a few wingers. And it's like we already have wingers. And we got a midfielder. It's like we already have midfielders. Yeah, they're good players, but like it's not what we needed. In January, we needed a couple of centre-backs. Especially with what happened with Bernard. As soon as he was injured, our defence was just cooked, and our playoff hopes were just over. I know it's like you can't blame it on one player. I'm not blaming it on one player. I'm just saying that we didn't have depth in centre-backs with championship quality centre-backs, and we paid the price because of that. And we had an opportunity to get a couple of championship level centre-backs in January, and we didn't. So we paid the price for it in the end. But we still had a good season on the pitch. 12th, like, at the start of the season, I said I wanted a mid-table finish. I said it in this video, in the predictions video I made. So, I'll absolutely take coming 12th, slap bang in middle. You know what I mean? For the second season, after being in League One. So yeah, I'll absolutely take it. I'm not complaining at all. It's just, it could have been better. Like, we've been the 5th or 6th best team away from home all year. And we're second worst at home. You know what I mean? It's just mental. I had Norwich just missing out by a fingernail. How wrong was I? They finished below Wednesday. They finished 13th. They've got good players, but when they're getting an inexperienced manager and they're losing 5-3 to Portsmouth at home and losing a lot of games that they on paper shouldn't have lost, then manager does deserve to be sacked. Why have I put Hull there? Why have I put Hull in? Why? Everything on paper was there on paper for him to have a crap season. They sacked the manager who nearly got in playoffs. They didn't have anywhere near the same caliber of players as the previous season. They were gonna struggle. And what? I've put Hull to just miss out. Am I special? What the hell? What am I doing? What the hell am I doing? What's wrong with that? What? What's wrong with me? I had Millwall just missing out though. I'll take the Millwall prediction. They were in shit hot form at the end of last season. They finished 12th, but like they went from down near bottom and they just flew up like a kite. And I just felt like they were going to do that again and keep the momentum going. I would have loved for them to get in the playoffs. They could have got in on final day, but they didn't. They were playing away at Burnley, so they were kind of doomed, really. So it's a shame, really, because Millwall are all right. They brought a lot of fans to Wednesday anyway, so there's nothing to complain about with Millwall, really. Oh yeah, there we go. I've moved Wednesday up now. I've moved Wednesday up to just missing out. But yeah, I was 2 places off with Wednesday. I've got them here in 10th, and they finished 12th, so it's not even a bad prediction for Wednesday, really. Same with Millwall. I've swapped Millwall on Wednesday round. Wait, I've swapped Millwall on Wednesday round. Why did I? I had Coventry in playoffs. I had Coventry finishing 4th. All right, okay. I wasn't expecting them to sack Mark Robins and to get a new manager in, but in the end, that's obviously what's happened. Frank Lampard's come in. He's done a good job. Frank Lampard is a good manager. It's just in the Premier League, he's completely out of his depth. But in the Championship, he's a really good manager. He just needs a squad of players who'll get behind him. And good luck to Coventry. I hope they do well in the playoffs. Well, good luck to all of them that have made playoffs. All of them could win it for their own reasons. But obviously, some of them haven't. And I've got Plymouth to finish bottom, which makes sense because when they appointed Wayne Rooney, that just made absolutely no sense to me. Made absolutely no sense. Made absolutely no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to neutrals who watch Championship. And made absolutely no sense to Plymouth fans. Just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Wayne Rooney now has 3 Championship relegations on his CV. When are you going to learn that he is not a Championship level manager? He just isn't. He's got Derby relegated. Yeah, they had a points deduction, but they still went down. All right.
What do you want to do with Dad?
Just stick her in here with me.
Okay, Matt.
Hi, Greg.
Matt, I just dropped some stuff off.
All right, fair enough.
Right. When I get back to it, I'll let the
Cheers.
door open. See you in a bit.
See ya. Right. So, I got interrupted by my brother then, but it doesn't matter. Because we've got to the end anyway. So this, on the right of the screen, is the final table. And on the left is my final table that I decided to lock in going into the season. And I'm happy with some of the predictions. I got some of them spot on. I got Plymouth finishing 23rd, and they finished 23rd. I got QPR finishing 15th. They finished 15th. And I got Leeds winning the league, and they won the league. So I wasn't I was spot on with those 3, so I did get 3 correct. So fair play to me. I'll pat myself on back. But so then next, I was 1 place off with Burnley. I had Burnley 3rd and they came 4th. I was 1 place off with Coventry. I had them to come. Burnley didn't come 4th. Burnley came 2nd. I was 1 place out with Coventry. I had them to come 4th. They came 5th. And then from there on out, it's like I was 2 places out with Wednesday. I was a lot of places out with Norwich. Luton was an absolute stinker. And, right. Let's get up my calculator and see how many places I was out in total. So I was 0 with Leeds. With Luton, I was 20 places out. With Burnley, I was 1. Coventry, I was 1. Middlesbrough, I was 5 places out. West Brom, I was 3 places out. Sheffield United, I was 4 places out. Norwich, I was 5 places out. Hull, I was 12 places out with Hull. I was also 2 places out with Wednesday. 3 places out with Millwall. 6 places out with Bristol City. 7 places out with Preston North End. 8 places out with Sunderland. 0 with QPR. 8 places out with Cardiff. 1 place out with Stoke. I had Stoke 17th, they came 18th. Yeah, I was 1 place out with Stoke. 2 places out with Portsmouth. 8 places out with Swansea. 6 places out with Watford. 4 places out with Oxford. And then 3 places out with Derby. 0 with Plymouth. And 16 out with Blackburn. So I was 197 places out in my table. This year was terrible with the average score, but I did get some predictions correct. So I will pat myself on the back with QPR, Leeds and Plymouth. And I will also give myself some credit with Stoke and Coventry and Burnley. They weren't too far off. I will give myself a pat on the back with some of them, like Portsmouth and Oxford as well. I was one of the few to back Oxford to stay up, and they did comfortably in the end. So yeah, I'll pat myself on back. And I got some right, and I got some horribly wrong. But anyway, sorry if there's any poor editing in this video. This video is mainly to test out the new mic and the new camera. You there. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be heavily edited or anything like that. I'm kind of just putting something out to put something out. And this was that video. So if you did like this video, please do leave a like. If you want to subscribe, please do. I'm hoping to get to 1,000 before the end of 2025. That's my goal. So anyway, I'll see you guys in a bit. Take care. And Goodbye.